Welcome to Film 2001, where the movies do the talking. Well, I do some talking too, but you knew that already. In tonight's Talkathon, Johnny Depp passes wind in Blow.
We hid fart machines all over the place.
And from the Cannes Film Festival, Sean Penn on why it's good to be bad. The Coen brothers share a joke about their new movie, The Man Who Wasn't There. Plus all the Cannes winners that count. And don't mention the war. Pearl Harbor is premiered. More fun than you've a right to expect. Blow, as its title suggests, is a drug movie. It charts the rise and fall of a real-life figure, one George Young, played by Johnny Depp. Young's place in history is assured by the claim that he was almost single-handedly responsible for introducing good-time America to cocaine. His parents must be very proud. The story spans Young's flight from his folks in the 60s to his crucial meeting with and eventual loss of his soulmate, Barbie, who introduces him to the world of narcotics. After this, he serves some time, travels to Colombia, naturally, and meets both Pablo Escobar and a rather saucy, druggy socialite played by Penelope Cruz. So, cue loads of white powder and a rather fetching white suit.
Where did you get this stuff?
Colombia.
I can't feel my face.
Senor Escobar wants to see you.
We're going into business together. I want to start right away. How much bigger can we get?
Sky's the limit. 3 million, I counted it twice.
2.5, I'm sure.
Where do I put it?
Try to close it!
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Johnny, first of all, may I say, it's lovely to see you again.
It's great to see you. I thought I would never see you again.
And it's depressing in some ways because all the women who've been coming in to interview you for the various other programmes are going out in this kind of ridiculously flushed state. And I find that hard to believe because here I am sitting and frankly, in real life, you're not so much.
Well, you have no sense of smell. That's exactly what it is. They've been waving off the funk. That's, yeah.
Testosterone. So Blow, you're working with Ted Demme on Blow. What attracted you to the part? Because it's a drug movie, but it's a drug movie which doesn't kind of speak out against drugs. It kind of leaves it up to the
yeah.
viewer, the audience.
I think it just really. I mean, one of the more interesting things about the film for me was that it just tells the story. You know, it just tells the story of the guy's life, of George Young's life, and the effects of the choices that he made, right or wrong, and the effects of drug use, and what happened to him in his life. So it was less of a drug movie for me. It was more about, you know, what happened to this little kid and where he went. You know.
Are you mad at me?
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah, you are.
No.
I can tell by the way you're looking at
I'm
me.
not mad, George. I just don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand your choices. You know, the cops are looking for you.
I'm great at what I do, Dad. I mean, I'm really great at what I do.
You would have been great at anything.
People said to me, you know, you being a father now, you know, everything. Why would you do a film that glamorizes drugs? And I don't see it that way at all. I mean, George ending up in prison, quite possibly for the rest of his days, is glamorizing drug use.
Was meeting George himself, was that a kind of a key point in you decided to do?
Oh yeah, it was everything, because to sit down with this person inside concertina wire and steel bars and say, okay, you know, give it to me. Nice to meet you. Spill your guts. Tell me all the positives and negatives and fears, and you know. So it was very intense 2 days we spent together.
When you think about it, what did I really do? I crossed an imaginary line with a bunch of plans. I mean, you say I'm an outlaw, you say I'm a thief, but where's the Christmas dinner for the people on relief? Huh? You say you're looking for someone who's never weak but always strong, to gather flowers constantly, whether you were right or wrong. Someone to open each and every door, but it ain't me, babe, huh? No, it ain't me, babe. It ain't me you're looking for, babe. You follow?
Yeah. Gosh, you know, your concepts are really interesting, Mr. Young.
Thank you.
Unfortunately for you, the line you crossed was real, and the plants you brought with you were illegal, so your bail is $20,000.
Is it true that you would try your best to put Penelope Cruz off when she was shooting the more intense, dramatic scenes?
I did it to everybody. I mean, yeah, we hid fart machines all over the place. Yeah, it was sort of, just terrorized the actors. constantly. But Penelope was a very good sport about it. It was nice to see that, you know, she could submerge herself into sort of her work and her, you know, the intensity of her work, and then come back out and still have a sense of humor about it. You know?
Why are you smiling?
It's great to see you again.
You too, man. Really a pleasure.
And you know those things can kill you.
What is that?
That T-shirt.
The T-shirt?
Yeah, it's Oasis, isn't it?
What is it?
Yeah, you don't want to hang out with those
Oh,
guys.
it's Keith.
Is it? Oh, it's Keith.
It's Keith, mate.
The
It's
original.
Keith. Yeah.
As Blow begins, the opening montage, which combines contemporary pop music with voiceover, inevitably makes you think of Goodfellas and Casino, which is a shame because they're tough movies to live up to. Initially, director Ted Demme gives it a pretty good try, capturing the breezy swing of the 60s when free sex and drugs seemed like harmless attractions at a party that would never end. But it's when George's life begins to fall apart that Blow falters, because some of the characters are underwritten to such an extent that they appear as cliched cameos. Johnny Depp is, as ever, highly watchable, but he has to spend the last third of the movie as an old man, laden with prosthetics and body padding. Neither is Young's fall from grace dramatic enough. It's hard to sympathise with a character who doesn't appear to learn from his mistakes. Blow has its high points, but most are early on in the film. Even though it comes across as Goodfellas light, it is sufficiently interesting to suggest that Ted Demme is a director to watch. It goes on general release from tomorrow. And now the top 5 movies that we Brits are positively clamouring to see. At 5, The Dish, a cracking Aussie comedy about the 1969 moon landing.
Oh, who's playing funny buggers?
Houston, problem.
I think computer's wiped.
Are we stuffed?
Yep, we're stuffed.
Let me get this straight. Southern Hemisphere's prime receiving station has no idea where Apollo 11 is.
Yeah, it's on its way to the moon.
At 4, Along Came a Spider continues to spin its web of intrigue, although the most intriguing thing about this turgid thriller is how it's managed to stay in the top 5 this long.
Open the window.
His window's not open.
You're a smart detective. Improvise. Quickly.
Police officer. Everybody down. Come on. Run away.
At 3, Captain Corelli is still plucking away at his mandolin. Despite a mixed bag of reviews, the public are still flocking to see this epic tale of love, war, fishing, and dancing. At 2, Bridget Jones loses her well-worn box office crown after 5 weeks in the top spot. The film has now taken £32 million in the UK, a feat topped only by Titanic and The Full Monty.
So, why do you want to work in television?
I've got to leave my current job because I've shagged my boss.
Fair enough. Start on Monday. We'll see how we go.
But straight in at number 1,
Oh, I hate mummies.
well, you might, Brendan, but obviously we love them. The Mummy Returns has racked up over $150 million worldwide, which in Hollywood means only one thing, a third movie.
Haku Machente!
We'll have to wait and see if Brendan and Rachel return, but WWF wrestler The Rock has already started on a prequel, The Scorpion King, and will perhaps play it in his more traditional garb of tight lycra shorts and knee-high boots. The Mummy returns at number 1. The people have spoken. It seems to be generally agreed that this year's Cannes Film Festival wasn't a vintage one. But one movie that did noise up the croisette was Sean Penn's third outing as director, The Pledge. It stars his buddy Jack Nicholson, who Penn last directed in The Crossing Guard. Whilst the film came away without a nod from the Cannes jury, many felt that it boasted Nicholson's best performance for years. OK, it's his only performance in years, but let's not split hairs. Nicholson plays Jerry Black, a cop who on his last day at work makes a promise to the mother of a murdered 8-year-old girl to find her daughter's killer. So it's part thriller, part love story, part retirement flick. Penn, who has had a decidedly rocky relationship with the media, graciously gave us one of his few interviews on the movie.
Who did this?
We intend to find out, Mrs. Larson.
Do you promise me that you will?
Yes. Yes, Mrs. Larson, I promise.
By your soul's salvation? Do you swear? by your soul's salvation on this cross, made by the hands of our daughter.
Yes.
It really started when I was making The Crossing Guard with Jack Nicholson. And I found that in between setups and such, he would be reading thrillers to relax. And so I asked Michael Fitzgerald to go into his backlog of reading and think of something that might appeal to me in the territory of a thriller, but not really, I don't really like the genre per se. And he found The Pledge and gave it to me, and I read it immediately. And this notion of identity or retirement crisis, sort of, where your entire adult life had been invested in very structured environments, like the military and the police department. And you give that up, and just as you give it up, there's an opportunity to redefine yourself, that opportunity being this crime.
I have reason to believe, based on my conversations and interviews, that Ginny Larson made this drawing just days before she was murdered. I have reason to believe that she was meeting with this man, seen here as a giant, all dressed in black, on a regular basis. This is not an Indian. This is not an Indian type. And you see this car here, this big black car? This is not a truck. This is not a maroon truck like Wadnaw drove. This is a big black station wagon. And these right here, these, according to an interview I had with a girl named Betsy Fisk, these are porcupines.
Okay, whoa, hold it. Porcupines and giants and Craig, you got to get a hold of yourself, Jerry. The case is closed.
It's a general thought that one of his qualities is what a deeply, deeply caring person he is. And as with any of us, that can go as wrong as it can go right. But at the center of it is one of the most caring people I've ever run across. And certainly one of the greatest actors.
Sort this out.
Stan. We're out of position.
Jerry, I got 8 guys out here, hung up, doing you a big favor.
I know this guy
Jerry,
is real. You understand? You don't know what you are dealing with here. This guy is real, and I know it.
He's no wizard, Jerry. We got our man a year and a half ago, Toby Wadman. You're making this real difficult for me. Calling it quits. Calling it quits. We're out of here. It's over. That's it.
Okay, Stan. You do what you gotta do. I'll do what I gotta do. Just when you leave, don't compromise this operation.
Jack still got it, hasn't he? Despite an indifferent reaction to the film on its release in the States, Penn is keeping his megaphone polished, his jodhpurs pressed and putting his acting on hold. Look out for The Pledge later this year. Now imagine the news, but without the horrid bits and wholly devoted to matters cinematic. Well, miracles do happen. Disney flashed its wad in Hawaii on Monday night. The corporation's top brass forked out a massive $5 million on hula girls, F-15 fighters and a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier for the launch of World War II epic Pearl Harbor. Stars Kate Beckinsale, Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett all hit the deck for the premiere, rumoured to be the most expensive in movie history.
I can't quite believe it. It's extraordinary. It seems so appropriate for the heroism that's gone on in this movie that it's celebrated in this enormous way.
But bad news for the House of Mouse. None of the hoopla stopped rumours that the $140 million love saga is overblown, cliched and could still bomb at the box office. The 54th Cannes Film Festival closed on Sunday, and the highest honour, the Palme d'Or, went as predicted to Nanni Moretti's harrowing family saga, The Son's Room. The rest of the evening's prize grabbing was dominated by Michael Haneke's The Piano Teacher, scooping the Grand Jury Prize, as well as gongs for Best Actor, Benoit Magimel, and Best Actress, Isabelle Huppert. Best Director honours were split between Joel Coen for his film noir thriller The Man Who Wasn't There, and David Lynch for his enigmatic tale, Mulholland Drive.
I feel that it's a great honor and a thrill to show a film here at Cannes. And on top of that, if you win something, it's even more, beautiful.
More from Mr. Lynch later, and congratulations to Joel Coen, although he literally was the man who wasn't there, as he'd left Cannes by the time the award ceremony came around. The Man Who Wasn't There is the Coen brothers' most ambitious movie to date, and it's influenced by novelist James M. Cain, who wrote The Postman Always Rings Twice. Beautifully shot in black and white by Roger Deakins, it's a story of blackmail, adultery and murder set in 1949. But being the Coens, that's just for starters, with fantastic plot twists and a truly masterful sense of the absurd. Frances McDormand and James Gandolfini support Billy Bob Thornton, who plays the lead role as laconic barber Ed Crane.
Now, being a barber is a lot like being a barman or a soda jerk. There's not much to it once you've learned the basic moves. For the kids, there's the butch or the hiney, the flat top, the ivy, the crew, the vanguard, the junior contour, and occasionally the executive contour. I lived in a little bungalow on Napa Street. Place was okay, I guess. Had an electric icebox, gas hearth, and a garbage grinder built into the sink. You might say I had it made. Oh yeah, there was one other thing.
Nothing seems daring to us. You know, you think of a story, you try to, all your decisions are guided by what feels right and what feels natural. Considerations of risk or daring or who's going to like this, who's not going to like this, don't really enter into it. You're just trying to be sort of faithful somehow to some concept.
Once you make the initial leap of saying, okay, I'm going to make a movie about a barber, as opposed to, I'm going to make a movie about, a CIA agent who's out to revenge the death of his daughter, or some action formula thing, then you kind of forget all the other stuff, and you just go with, as Ethan was saying, with what's sort of appropriate or necessary to the story.
And I've been weak. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. I've been carrying on with a married woman. No one you know. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. I got a note. A blackmail note, come across so everybody knows.
When you're a kid, or if you ever think about being an actor, you always want to play a part like this. It's like, too bad those 40s movies are over. I wish I could play a part like Humphrey Bogart or Montgomery Clift or whoever it is. And I got to do it.
It's a really, really hard thing for an actor, what we asked him to do in this part, which is to essentially this impassivity that he has, this sort of, this essentially reactive character who isn't very emotive and is a mystery, really, and very internal. Has almost no lines in the movie outside of the voiceover. He speaks very little in the movie.
Doris and I went to church once a week, usually Tuesday night.
B9. I-29.
Doris wasn't big on divine worship, and I doubt if she believed in life everlasting. She'd most likely tell you that our reward is on this earth, and bingo is probably the extent of it.
B7.
The Man Who Wasn't There gives Billy Bob Thornton the best role of his career. That is, of course, if you discount his appearance in the 1989 classic Chopper Chicks from Zombie Town.
The Coen brothers will never, as good as they are, will never achieve something of that high quality as Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town. When we did Zombie Town, as we call it, that was a time in film when you could truly take risks, and the artist was so important. Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town is probably, not only the best movie that I've ever been associated with, but I think one of the great films of all time.
That's a good one.
That was the one we saw. That's what convinced us.
There you go.
When The Man Who Wasn't There is released later in the year, look out for the rather mysterious editor's credit for a certain Mr. Roderick Janes. The film's production notes tell me Mr. Janes started life pushing the tea trolley at Shepperton in the 30s, worked on carry-on movies in the 50s and 60s, and came out of retirement to work with the Coens. Most intriguingly of all, the notes boast he owns the world's largest collection of Mrs. Thatcher nudes. Quite a guy. Now here are the movies which are opening in the UK this week. All the Pretty Horses is an adaptation of Cormac McCarthy's epic novel. Set in Texas and Mexico in the late 40s, it's Romeo and Juliet on horseback, with Matt Damon and Penelope Cruz as the doomed young lovers.
I want to ride him.
What?
I want to ride him.
I don't think the patron want me to give him to you. I'd saddle on him.
Get down. Get down.
Are you sure about this?
Yes, hurry.
Fixing to get me in trouble.
You are in trouble.
Very Annie Mary is a heartwarming tale set in the Welsh Valleys and stars Rachel Griffiths and Jonathan Pryce. It follows a simple-minded girl whose passion for singing is snuffed out by her overbearing father. But when he suffers a stroke, she begins to blossom.
Hiya.
What have you got on?
It's my birthday present from Beth and Bevan. How are you? Is it true you're joining the ministry?
Gossips of frogs.
Where will you be stationed?
Well, all over. Java, Malta, Italy. Wherever the Baptists send me, where God is needed most. You look better with a fringe.
Oh. Can we kiss? Can we call?
What?
Can we kiss? Can we? It's my birthday. I'll pay you for it. Look. You want one?
No, I do not.
I'd be good at sex, I would. I'll pay you. Don't tell my father I smoke.
I don't want money. How much?
And in C Spot 1, David Arquette's dog-phobic mailman has to look after a drug-sniffing FBI super pooch when it becomes a mafia assassination target.
What's up, Tyson? You on lockdown? You want to get the mail? You want to get the mail, man? Come on! Not today, Tyson!
David Arquette, clearly out of his tree. Director David Lynch won the Palme d'Or in Cannes in 1990 for Wild at Heart and was just pipped at the post with his latest movie, Mulholland Drive. Originally planned as an offshoot from his hit TV series Twin Peaks, it was abruptly cancelled by ABC in 1999, even before it had made it to the small screen. Now rescued for the cinema, Lynch cryptically describes it as a love story from the City of Dreams. Despite the fact that nobody seemed to have a clue what the film was about, Lynch ended up sharing the Best Director award with the Coen brothers. Superficially, the film follows the exploits of two women, one an innocent, the other a vixen with a shady past, whose lives intersect in LA. Mr. Lynch granted Film 2001 the UK's only TV interview. And like I said, nobody does weird quite like David.
I wonder where you were going. Mulholland Drive. That's where I was going. Mulholland Drive.
I had a dream about this place. Tell me.
There is no band, and yet we hear a band.
Diane? Camilla. Diane, the car's waiting.
In real life, Mulholland Drive is a road that goes along the crest of the Santa Monica Mountains. It's a very long and winding road, and from Mulholland Drive you have, you know, vistas over Hollywood and Santa Monica and the ocean on one side and the valley on the other. At night, it's not a well-lit road, and so it holds a sense of danger and mystery.
Why
This is the girl. That girl is not in my film! It's no longer your film.
The Hollywood dream is what has brought, you know, tens of thousands of people to Los Angeles. And the idea is 2 twofold. One, a way to express yourself and ideas, and another is fame, fortune, and power. So the Hollywood dream is many things. It brings people there, but as the same way with Las Vegas brings gamblers, there's very few gamblers that win the big, prize.
Mulholland Drive stars big screen newcomers Naomi Watts and Laura Eleanor Howing. For both actresses, their first meetings with Lynch were memorable.
David Lynch wants to meet with me. He saw my picture, so I go over to his office, and we spoke for about an hour. And the first few words he said to me were, he just looked at me straight in my eyes with these baby blue eyes, and he said, good, 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 good. And he was so funny. There was no script available. Nobody had it. And I found someone who had it. And the first meeting we had was just a talking kind of discovery meeting. And he was wanting to learn who I was. And then the second one, I was asked to come back and be a bit more dressed up. And in the interim, I managed to get hold of a copy. And so I knew the script, and I was playing innocent and sort of asking really clever questions, or at least I thought so.
At one time, it looked as if Mulholland Drive had come to the end of the road. But then Lynch secured new funding, and his story, complete with new scenes and a fresh ending, was alive again.
It was like rescuing a patient that was barely breathing. And even the patient that looked dead was turning blue and gray. But if you go very closely, you might hear a little breath. But out of failures, out of, catastrophes, accidents, sometimes a new direction is shown. And that's sort of what happened. When it had the chance to become a feature, everything changed. And fortunately, I got ideas to see a way to do it. And the night these ideas came in was a beautiful night.
I don't know about you, but I find it's always a pleasure to be baffled by David Lynch. I'll say no more than that, because Mulholland Drive will not be released in the UK until the autumn. And that's your lot. Next week, all the way from Hawaii, we'll have the whole 9 yards on Pearl Harbor. The stars, the premiere, the warships, the verdict. Plus, funny guy Chris Rock will be discussing Down to Earth. The last word, however, goes to the King. Elvis, That's the Way It Is, the rockumentary, if you will, is still on general release, and it's still great. Cue jumpsuits, dodgy martial arts moves and classic tunes. Good night, and thanks for watching. Take it away, Elv.
Won't you know, Coen, I can't walk because I love you too much. Caught in a trap, I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. Don't you know, caught in a trap, I can't walk.